Did you know in Titanic, Kate Winslet flashed Leonardo DiCaprio before filming their first scene? According to director James Cameron, the first scene they ever shot was the infamous nude drawing scene. So Kate was going to be naked in front of Leo all day. To break the ice, pun intended, Kate decided to flash Leo beforehand, which she has since said helped make him more comfortable with the whole scene. The two have since been best friends, and one of Hollywood's favorite platonic couples. But, did you know in Twilight, Edward and Bella were both nearly played by other people? You know you've casted a movie right when it earns $407 million worldwide and a total of $3.4 billion as a 5-part saga. But author of the books, Stephenie Meyer, originally wanted 2 different actors for the lead roles. In a blog post, Meyer expressed how she felt Henry Cavill was the best person to portray Edward. However, by the time filming took place, he was too old. She also had Emily Browning as her first choice as Bella, and a whole list of other actors before Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart were cast. Did you know in Stardust, the 3 witches are named after Greek mythological creatures? Lamia was a female demon who devoured children. She was a queen of Libya and loved by Zeus. After Hera robbed her of her children, Lamia killed every child she could get into her power. On the other hand, Mormo was a spirit who bit bad children, and was said to have been a companion of the goddess Hecate. According to Greek folklore, the name was also used by nurses to describe female vampires to keep children from misbehaving. And Zampusa was a creature sent by the goddess Hecate to eat travelers. She often seduced men, especially sleeping men, in order to feed on their flesh and blood, but... Did you know in Guardians of the Galaxy, a touching tribute to Stan Lee's famous catchphrase is made? During a scene in which Rocket zooms in on Stan talking to a girl, there's a lot of written Skrull text next to his character. Skrulls are shapeshifters that appear in the Marvel Comics, and later Captain Marvel. Director of Guardians of the Galaxy James Gunn confirmed that the translated Skrull text reads Excelsior, which was Stan Lee's famous catchphrase he would regularly say and use for signature messages on comics. But, did you know in The Godfather, oranges are used to foreshadow a character's death? When the Godfather gets shot in the street, he's buying oranges. When Vito dies, it's while he's peeling an orange and playing with his grandson. You can see an orange on the table where Jack Woltz is eating before the horse's head shows up in his bed. While there may have been no intention from the filmmakers other than to brighten up what's a somber set, it's clear to see the proof to this speculated Easter egg. But, did you know in The Big Short, Margot Robbie was drinking real 20-year-old Dom Perignon champagne during her scene in the bathtub? In this particularly memorable scene, Robbie made a cameo as herself explaining why mortgage bonds were so sought after, why things started to go wrong, and the definition behind shorting and subprime loans. Speaking directly to the audience, the Australian actress broke down these terms into their simplest for all. Interestingly, this movie, and this scene in particular, saw a resurgence of popularity in early 2021 when a short squeeze of the stock of the American video game retailer GameStop and other securities took place, causing major financial consequences for certain hedge funds and large losses for short sellers. Did you know in Batman Returns, Michelle Pfeiffer put a live bird in her mouth for the scene where Catwoman threatened to eat Penguin's bird? Originally, they weren't going to use a live bird. Instead, they planned to use bird puppets. But Michelle thought they looked too fake. But that's not all. For the penguin scenes, the birds were flown over to the States from England in the refrigerated hold of a plane. Every day, a refrigerated trailer with a swimming pool and fresh ice were delivered to them. They also received fresh fish from the docks every day. Despite the high temperatures outside, the entire set was kept at a cool 35 degrees. After their stint in Hollywood, most of the birds mated and produced eggs, a sure sign of contented penguins. Did you know in The Old Guard, Queen's original comic book counterpart Noriko accidentally fell into the ocean? She was traveling on the sea with Andy, Joe, and Nikki when a large wave crashed into the ship and swept her overboard. Despite their best efforts, the remaining immortals failed to find her, and she was presumed dead. Eventually, she made her way to Japan and began a feud with a Shogun warrior. Unfortunately, the original sequence would have been too expensive for the film, so the story was changed for budgetary reasons.